Hello friends, welcome back to the Vegetarian Nutrient Connection. We have already gone through one lecture on that in this series, which was entitled Vegetarianism, Principle or Application. Let me ask you, is vegetarianism a principle or an application? It's an application. Okay, now everybody has it nice and clear. That's very good. That's very good, because the context will tell us. Context will tell us. How we fulfill that principle. Now, I am a vegetarian, and I have been for the last 16 years. And I've been experimenting in my own body, always recognizing, or maybe not always, not in the beginning, but definitely as you gain clinical experience and so on, recognizing that what it works for you doesn't necessarily work for everybody else. In fact, in my own house, my wife doesn't like me, because I can actually eat anything. Like if you have some nachos or some vegetarian nachos or some haystacks, we call them, you know, with the corn chips, I can eat them. She will have to eat the salad and so on, because she cannot. She reacts very badly to the corn chips, and she can have the corn, like the fresh corn, no problem with that one, but not the corn chips. I don't know if it's the way they're made or whichever else. And she cannot have, for instance, kidney beans. Very, very bloated with kidney beans, okay? But I can eat them. So just because it works with me or for me, that doesn't mean that it will work the same way with everyone. And I've got the very example in my own house, okay? So these seminars are designed to share valuable information with the general public. They are not to be used as a treatment for individual cases, okay? And that's us, and we practice from Australia. Now, a plant-based pyramid. We have two pyramids there, and at the base we are going to put two types of plants. One is potatoes, rice, bread, pasta, crackers, and healthy cakes. That's at the base of that pyramid. Can you see that? Okay. Are all these plants, yes or not? They're all plants. The other one has as a base a vegetable-based pyramid. So green vegetables, all sorts of vegetables, that will be the majority of the food, or the main bulk will be vegetables. While in the other pyramid, the yellow pyramid, what is the bulk of that? Grains and starchy potatoes and so on. Okay? There is a very good lecture on YouTube from two health presenters that are well known, and I will not dare to say their names, but I'll say where they stand. They basically stand on those two pyramids. There is one that stands very firmly on the yellow pyramid, and there's another doctor that stands very firmly on the green pyramid. Okay? And they both have written books, and they both have presentations at universities, etc., etc. Well known on TV. One of them, and in fact, it was part of a documentary, big documentary. Both of them, I think, part of documentaries. Now, if you are aware of some of the well-known doctors on health that are out there, you probably figured out who they are. So one is basically gaining the carbohydrates out of potato, rice, bread, pasta, crackers, etc., while the other one is getting the carbohydrates from the vegetables. Okay? And the one on the yellow pyramid was saying in this discussion, this program discussion in YouTube, he was saying, you know, how much good success he was having in all sorts of areas, including weight loss and so on, by putting his patients on about 80% of their plate, proceeding from potatoes, rice, bread, pasta, crackers. When he exposed that through, the other one, also very famous, also had written books, also very respectable, okay, so they were at the same level in terms of qualifications and so on. The other one said, I am very, very happy that the people that will respond well to potatoes, rice, bread, and pasta are all going to see Dr. Yellow. Because the ones that they come to see me, they just happen to be the ones that do not respond well with that amount of potato, rice, and carbohydrates. So I'm very thankful, he was saying, that Dr. Yellow has been blessed to receive all the ones that do well with it. Unfortunately, in my case, I haven't been that blessed, and the ones that I get are all the ones that do not do well on that. So I have to say, in my clinical experience, I am on the green side. I seem to get the people that come to me trying to lose weight, and if I put them on potato, rice, pasta, and so on, they won't lose the weight. But if I put them on vegetables, they will lose the weight. Now, if you are looking for a vegetarian based on your diet, what is the first word in that word? The first part of the word, vegetarian. So I am more inclined to believe that if you are a vegetarian, you ought to be in this pyramid. Okay? And have vegetables as your base and main bulk. In fact, out of your plate, if you have your plate, you divide your plate in half, and half of that plate ought to be vegetables. Ought to be vegetables. Then you can separate the other half and make 2 quarters, and then in one of the quarters you can put your potato and your rice or whatever, and in the other quarter some protein source. Okay? That I'm like the green doctor here. In my clinical practice, the ones that come to see me, they won't do well in this pyramid here. So he is just being very blessed. He just gets the good ones. We just get the complicated ones, or the ones that don't respond that easy to potato. Are you catching what I'm saying? Okay. Now, I see many vegetarians like this. That's a vegetarian jam and peanut butter sandwich. Is that vegetarian? Yes or not? Yes. Okay. That is a vegetarian pizza. Is that vegetarian? Yes. That is a vegetarian macaroni cheese. Is that vegetarian? At least ovo-lacto, but you can make it into a vegetarian option just by soy cheese or something like that. So that's vegetarian? Okay. That's cornflakes. Is that vegetarian? Okay, let's say the cornflakes is vegetarian. Let's say it's soy milk. Vegetarian, right? Okay. We call those Whippix. They're very famous, #1 cereal in Australia. They're just wheat biscuits made out of wheat. You put them in there, you add the milk, and it's like magic. That thing gets big and big and big and swells up. You better wait for that thing to swell up in the bowl, because you eat it too quickly and then it starts swelling up here. Okay, make sure that you give that the full stretch while it's in there, because otherwise you end up with some teenage guys, they just go 10 of them and then they feel woo. Okay, that's a vegetarian cake, birthday cake. Okay, but that's once a year, isn't it? Once a year, it's not a problem, isn't it? But the problem is that for that once a year, the others have actually been consumed continuously. Now, I'm going to show you again, that's the Whippix, that's the cornflakes, that's the macaroni cheese, that's the pizza, that's the sandwich. All of them are vegetarian options. I don't think they're going to give you the health that you're expecting out of them. In fact, there will probably be people that will be eating meat and more vegetables that will be much healthier than you, if that is your main source of food. And I'm even inclined to say that you're not actually fulfilling principle if that is your main source of food. Because with that main source of food, you're not fulfilling principle, because the principle is not vegetarianism, the principle is to make you healthy, and in the long run, this is not going to make you healthy. Now, there are 10 more that I want to, probably there's more than 10, but I want to outline some of them to you. Your disposition, your negative thinking, your anger, your frustration, your unforgiveness, your hatred, your desperation, your depression, your fear, your insecurity, your negative stress, your worry, your guilt, and your sickness. Sometimes it's not what you eat, but what is eating you. Did you get that? Sometimes it's not what you eat, but what is eating you. I know of vegetarians that will not go near meat, but they will eat you alive. Did you get that? Okay? And there is a disposition that we need to have, not just towards food, but overall, towards our own environment and those around us, those that are neighbors and friends of ours. We need to make sure that, if you're thinking that by eating a vegetarian and having a very awful type of character and bitter individual, the bitter is going to work more against your health than whatever positiveness comes from the food that you're eating. Do you understand what I'm saying? So do not rely on the food as the only source of health, because it's a lie. It doesn't work. It doesn't. Okay? So we need protein, and this is one of the elements that tend to be monitored in vegetarians. Okay? One of the things that we tend to actually lack, or at least that's one of the things that I'm actually seeing in my clinic, is when a vegetarian walks through, is protein deficiency. Now, protein deficiency can be manifested in a number of ways. You might think of protein deficiency a person that is very, very skinny. Okay? But protein deficiency can actually also be seen and noticeable in a person that has 20 kilos extra, okay, that has inflammation of the legs, and it has fluid retention, for instance. There's a lot of protein that is actually being wasted out and urinated out of the body. And that person is showing signs of protein deficiency, despite the fact that he's not skinny. Okay? So, if your neighbors are telling you, do you have cancer? And you go, why are you saying that? You lost a lot of weight. Now, I'm not saying that your neighbors are right in regards to the cancer, but maybe they're trying to tell you something. A gentleman that I know, he got sick and tired of hearing people in the shopping center asking him, are you feeding your children? Do you think that ought to be a question to be asked to a father and mother that are trying to do their best for their children to be healthy? And the only thing, now people don't go and say, man, your children look so healthy, what are you doing? No. They go and say, are these your children? I say, yeah. Are they all right? Like, did you just come up from the children's hospital or something? I said, no. Are you feeding them? Because if that is what they ask, that's what you are actually showing. How am I going to convince anybody to adopt my diet of vegetarianism if they think that by doing so, my children or their children are going to die of starvation? Are you following what I'm saying? Protein is very, very important. So let's go to find out where protein is found. Now, basically, not absolutely, but many things in the plant kingdom has protein. Carrot juice has protein. Okay? We have lettuce, protein. Apple, protein. They do have protein. Now, they might not have all the essential amino acids in them, but they do have certain levels of protein and certain levels of protein in certain amino acids, okay? But we are going to actually ask you to tell me, I'm going to give you vegetarian options, and you tell me if they are predominantly protein or predominantly carbohydrates or predominantly fats, okay? So if I actually say walnuts, where would you say? Protein, fat, or carbohydrates? Fat. Walnuts are mainly, primarily fat. In other words, they do have a percentage of protein, and they are a good source of protein. But primarily, they have the highest percentage of their macronutrients as fats. Very little carbohydrates, reasonable amount of protein, but mainly fat. Okay, so if I say avocado, that's fat. Okay, so if I say apple, carbohydrates. Now, apple has protein, but it's mainly the fructose in the apple. It will give you mainly carbohydrates. Okay, so if I say broccoli, carbohydrates, but it has protein. Okay, it has protein. So when you're eating it, you are consuming some level of protein. Okay, so far we're filling up the fat here and we're filling up the carbohydrates. Let's go to see if we try to fill up some of the protein there. What about lentils? The highest percentage in lentils of macronutrients meaning protein, fat, or carbohydrates, the highest percentage in lentils is carbohydrates. Okay, see if we can fill up that one there. Brown rice, not white rice, because white rice, where is white rice? Carbohydrates, okay? All right, now brown rice. It's still here. Carbohydrates, it was a tricky question. Okay, quinoa. Now, quinoa contains a much bigger range of amino acids, essential amino acids. It actually reaches to 8 essential amino acids. So in terms of the profile, it completes that. But in terms of the macronutrients, it's carbohydrates. All right, I want to move from here. So kidney beans. Carbohydrates. Hold on. Carbohydrates, still carbohydrates. Chickpeas. Carbohydrates. All right. What can I say? I heard spinach. Yeah, it's high in protein, but it's high in carbohydrates. Okay, so soybean. Okay. Tofu. Tempeh. Green lentils. Maybe I catch you here. Green lentils. So we're starting to get a picture why protein can be an issue in vegetarians. Because we don't have many things that are filling up pure protein in that area there. Okay? So I'll give you another example. Eggs. Fat. Does egg have protein? Yes. Good complete protein, but it's actually considered fat. Okay? So, all right. Rice protein powder. So it's a protein powder made out of brown rice. It's protein powder. So it's actually a process in which they have actually got the protein and concentrated it just so they extracted mainly the protein. So a protein powder, like a rice protein powder and a hemp protein powder, pea protein, etc., they will be here. Okay? So pea protein and so on, they will be here. Are you following? Okay. Now, there are individuals that do react in a negative way to soy. If that individual is a vegetarian and reacts to soy, that goes your tofu, that goes your tempeh, and that goes your soy milk, and that goes your soybean. So you better start looking for a good protein powder to actually supplement your protein intake. Are you following what I'm saying here? Okay, can you see the picture here? So the body contains over 30,000 different kinds of proteins. Of these, only about 3,000 have been studied. We need them for building muscles, blood, skin, teeth, bone, nails, and hair. And that's one of the things that we actually noticed, thinning of the hair. The thinning of the hair is not always a thyroid issue. It could actually be a protein issue, very much so. Okay? And also with the skin actually starts giving a different texture. It's very hard for me to describe it. I know when I see it, and I recognize it when I see it, is like this, the integrity of the skin is very, very pliable. The skin becomes very pliable, very dry. And it's not that the skin has necessarily a muscle, but does have a tone. And the tone of the skin, it gets lost. And then there's a pale color that comes towards it. And the nails also can actually be a sign of protein deficiency. Okay? Oh, hold on. What else? As enzymes. Now, this is interesting. In order for you to digest your food, you need digested enzymes. So digested enzymes are actually proteins. Now, your body will get proteins that you manufacture yourself. These are called non-essential amino acids. Out of non-essential amino acids, they will build their own proteins. And also from essential amino acids, meaning the ones that you actually have to consume. And the body will actually make their own protein. And some of these proteins are called enzymes. Now, it becomes a little bit tricky now. Let's say I have protein deficiency. That means that certain functions in my body are going to be suffering. I'm going to have problems with my hair, with my skin, and with my nails, sure. But also with some of the functions that require protein because I'm on low numbers. And one of them is the enzymes. So I'm going to be low on enzymes that digest the food. So because I'm low in protein, what I'm going to do, I'm going to eat more protein. Now I'm eating more protein, but what do I need to digest that protein? Digested enzymes. Do they have now digested enzymes there? I don't have the digested enzymes. So now I recognize I'm losing protein. I need more protein. I need to eat more protein. But I reach to a point in which now I cannot even digest the protein. Can you see how tricky it can become? Okay. As hormones, and that is from not just from the sexual hormones point of view, or but any type of hormone in the body. Okay, as neurotransmitters, a person with protein deficiency will have more issues with the muscle, but at the same time with coping with the stress. We're thinking of magnesium, but have you thought of protein? For neurotransmitters, you don't have the protein, the body starts shutting down certain functioning, or putting them on a standby, or putting them on a very low minimum. It's like cutting corners in a company. The money's not coming in, we need to cut corners. Okay, we also need them for regulating fluid balanced, acid-base regulators, transporters, antibodies as energy source. These are a list of essential amino acids, and as I'll see if I can point it here on the screen. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay? Some people will say they're meant to be 8. Others will say they're meant to be 10. Okay? And the others are non-essentials. That means that you can actually get from one you can actually go through a cascade of events and get another. Okay? So from cysteine you can get taurine, for instance. So there's different pathways that from one you can get another. Now, I want you to notice something here. Histidine and arginine are semi-essentials. What does that mean? They are essential only for infant growth, but not for all children or adults, where in adults, histidine requirement is obtained by intestinal flora and arginine by urea cycle. So, if you are an adult, you actually require less a type of amino acid than if you are a baby. So, we need to make sure that when we are feeding a baby, that baby is having that extra amino acid that you can manufacture yourself, but the baby cannot. In fact, there is one, and I want to point it to you here. This is actually amino acid for dogs and cats. They're not for humans, they're for dogs and cats. And I want you to notice, for instance, that some of them are imperative, are essential for dogs and cats. For instance, essential for dogs and cats, but not essential for many other adult animals. There is one here that is called taurine. Can you see taurine here? Okay, from cysteine, you can make taurine. If you have enough levels of cysteine in your body, you can make taurine. Okay? But for a cat, it's actually essential. That means that a cat needs to have taurine no matter what. If a cat does not have taurine, the cat gets blind, loses his eyesight. Okay? So, taurine does not come from any plant produce. It cannot get from any plant produce. So, what is going to happen to your cat if your cat is vegan? It's going to lose the sight. And I had a lady that said, well, that's not true with my cat, because my cat is vegan. I trained my cat to be vegan, and is 12 years of age or 15 years of age or whatever, and he's not blind. And I said, well, he's not blind, but you don't have any birds around your house either. You might be feeding your cat vegan food, but he is serving himself with the birds around the neighborhood. Are you catching what I'm saying? Okay, now, a baby does not manufacture taurine. And a mother that does not have taurine in her diet, what type of vegetarian does not have taurine in the diet? One that is strictly plant-based. Then that mother will manufacture taurine out of cysteine for herself and in low levels. But the baby needs bigger levels of taurine for brain development in the womb. Low cysteine and low taurine levels from the mother will higher the risk of mental development in the womb of the baby. But the end of the story is not there, because now the baby comes out and it drinks the mother's milk. So the levels of taurine in the mother's milk are also going to be extremely low, because the mother is manufacturing taurine only for herself. She doesn't need taurine. She is an adult. The baby does, for brain functioning and brain development. Okay, are you catching what I'm saying? So I had this lady. She was actually showing among other things, deficiency in taurine. And I suggested for her to see if she can actually find a source of taurine, and she wanted a supplement. I said, well, you can use a supplement, that's not a problem, but you can also, get some eggs. You don't need many, just some eggs every so often, and that will probably give you that taurine. And she goes, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to do it all planned, and I'm not going to do that. So she came to my office about 4 weeks later. She had a big smile in her face. She had actually been feeling better. And I said, well, you look better. I said, yep. She had something to share with me. I said, how do you do it? I said, I told you. I wasn't going to do it the way you suggested. I was just going to get a supplement. I said, that's fine. You wanted a supplement or you wanted the other way. But whatever you decided. And so I just went through the supplement. I got this company in the States. I got it shipped over. Just taurine, just for me. I said, really? And you do feel better? I said, yeah, and you look better. I said, yeah, I feel better and I look better and so on. I said, can I have a look at the supplement? I'm interested in that company. So I got hold of the supplement, and at the back said, suitable for vegetarians, vegan capsules. I don't know how many of you have picked that up. Is suitable for vegetarians, and the capsule in which the supplement comes in is vegan. The capsule is vegan. The taurine is suitable for vegetarians. Why? Because it comes from the egg. It comes from the egg. And I said, you realize of that? And she just was outraged. She said, I'm going to call the company. This is unfair. No. They've been clear here. It's suitable for vegetarians, but the vegan part is the capsule, because taurine does not come from plants. It cannot be found. So she did it through supplement. She paid lots of money. It was a very good company. I'm happy with the product. Very good company. I would be very, very surprised if everything was vegan though, because I'll be questioning it. Where did they get it from? Okay? So, consider the signs: muscle and joint pain, muscle wasting, sugar craving. Now, notice, sugar craving can actually be an excess in your diet of carbohydrates, and at the same time, a sign of what? Of protein deficiency. At the same time. Because low here, high there, unbalanced. Okay? Lethargic, the slow wound healing. The wounds are not healing fast enough. Flaky and dry skin, anxiety and depression, deep cross lines in nails. These are actually not the ones that go from the root on that direction, but they actually cross that way. And I've seen very, very bad cases. Insomnia, loss of libido. Some people, they just go and buy a protein shake just for the last bit there. They will just read the last bit, loss of libido, and they'll just go, give me a protein powder. Okay? Some people get motivation in different things. You know? So the ladies will look at the flaky and dry skin and say, oh, give me a protein powder. And the men will say, oh, loss of libido, get a protein powder for me and one for my wife. You know? Everybody has a different priority. It's amazing. Menstrual disturbances, increased water retention, in some cases weight loss, but as I said before, a person can actually be carrying extra weight and have protein deficiency signs. Okay? Skin ulcers. So, your diet ought to be encompassing a great variety of ingredients. Remember that everything that we said in the fat category and in the carbohydrate category will have a degree of protein. Okay? But not from the plant kingdom, the great majority of them, there are a few items like quinoa and things like that that do have 8 amino acids. 8 of the essential amino acids. But normally what happens is that to get, for instance, brown rice, and brown rice will give you 5 essentials, or 4 essentials, sorry, and then you'll get like chickpeas, and the chickpeas will give you maybe 5 essentials. So, and they're not the same sometimes, so they overlap. So with the ones that, the essentials that the brown rice gives you, with the essentials that the chickpeas give you, you end up with the 8. With the 8, not with the 9 or 10. You following? Okay, so you end up with the 8. So you end up with a complete protein of essentials from that point of view. Then, in order to reach levels of rectifying protein deficiency, then you need to eat quite a lot of it, which then starts spiking up your sugar, because remember, originally they are actually carbohydrate, higher percentage of carbohydrate. So it's like catch-22. You have that expression here, catch-22. Like, all right, I need more of that. I need more volume, but the more volume that I give, the more my sugar level is going to rise. So for instance, if you're going to do like a chickpea patty, have you heard of the chickpea patties? Like falafel or things like that. Or so you make patties for burgers out of chickpeas. One easy thing to do is you just get an unflavored protein powder. Make sure it's not soy, please. Doesn't have any soy, this protein powder, right? The one that you just bought doesn't have any soy, okay? No soy in the protein powder. Just rice or hemp or pea protein or a few others that are out there. Not soy, please. So you're making the mix for your patties, and how are you going to bulk it up? Otherwise, you have to eat like 20 patties to reach to that level. How are you going to bulk it up? You just get the unflavored protein powder, and you just bulk it up with protein. So now you do have a much enriched protein burger, because we need to make sure that when we're actually substituting things in our diet from meat-eating diet to vegetarian diet, we truly substituting. Because let's say we got cow's milk here and we stop drinking cow's milk. How do we substitute the cow's milk with? With what? What? Okay, soy. Now, in the cow's milk, you have lots of minerals. You have fat that normally will carry some essential fatty acids, omega-3s, because the cow that is a dairy cow will have to eat green grass in order to produce good milk. You have a level of carbohydrates, and you have a level of complete protein. When you are using soy milk, are you substituting the color? Yes. Are you substituting maybe the flavor or the taste or the utility of it? You know, I used to put this over my cornflakes. I put now this over my cornflakes. It looks in the photo, it looks what? It looks the same. But are you actually truly substituting it? No. Now, let's going to go a step further. Let's say soy is not agreeing with you. So what other alternative? You're going to go for rice milk. Okay. Now, you're substituting something that is pretty much protein, and now you're substituting it with rice milk. Where am I going now? Carbohydrates. Are you really substituting it? No. You're substituting the looks, you're substituting the practicality of it. Are you following what I'm saying? Now, if I get a burger, like a beef burger, that is here, that's in the protein. I'm going to put a substitute to my beef burger, and I make like a chickpea burger. Am I still in the same place? No. Now I'm actually on the carbohydrate side. What am I substituting? I'm substituting the usage of that product, so I can have now my burgers again. But I'm not actually substituting what I'm actually getting rid of. I'm getting rid of lots of protein, and I'm actually now introducing more carbohydrates. I've got a couple dear friends of mine. They, in the last 5 years, 5 to 3 years, they put on 15 kilos. And they're wondering why. This is why. because they're substituting from here, they're getting more and more protein deficiency signs, and they put it on 15 kilos because all the substitutions are here. So, somebody actually showed me not that long ago a butter. It looks like butter. You look at it, and it has like a butter flavoring thing, okay? And it's made out of corn, okay? Made out of corn. So I'm not going to eat the butter, which is what? Fat. And I'm going to actually substitute it for something that looks the same, tastes the same, texture, and is made out of corn. Am I still on the fat? What am I? I'm on the carbohydrates. So now I'm getting my bread, which is what? Carbohydrates. I'm going to put my butter, which is what? Carbohydrates. I'm going to get my patty, which is what? Carbohydrates. And then I'm going to put the other bread on top, carbohydrates. What am I substituting? I'm not substituting. I actually just invented a new world order. Okay, so combine whole grains with legumes. Sure. Make sure if you're making patties, if you're making a soup, get that unflavored protein powder and bulk it up. Okay? So that's the vegetable protein powders. Please avoid the soy. Please avoid the soy. Did I say avoid the soy protein powder? Yeah. I just want to make sure that I said it. Okay. So we got digestive enzymes. In cases of protein deficiency, notice what I said here in the title. The vegetarian diet is more than potatoes. Do you realize that? Okay, it's far more than potatoes. If we want to do a good job on it, if we want to have a good go at it, we need to start thinking that it's far more than potatoes and far more than just carbohydrates. Okay? So digestive enzymes might be necessary in some people. Why? Because your protein deficiency has now caused your digestive enzymes to be reduced. So now you need a bit helpers. So you can have your milk, I'll give you another example before I forget. Pancakes. Okay, so how do you make pancakes? In like the traditional, you put Google, pancakes, traditional recipe. What do you have in there? Okay, you have a couple of eggs, so that's a complete protein here, and fat. Yeah, what else? You have the flour, and you have milk. Okay, now we're going to make it now healthy. So we get flour. We have, because we're not going to put the egg, so what are we going to put? Egg binder, or like a flat seed for the binding. This is just a little bit there. We haven't touched there. And then we got to put the rice milk here. There you go. You got your pancakes. Guess what? The stomach does not have carbohydrate satisfaction receptors. The stomach only has satisfaction receptors for protein and fat. So when you include protein and fat in your meals in one way or another, you get satisfied easier. So in other words, of these pancakes, the unhealthy pancakes, you will eat 3 and you'll have enough. The healthy ones, you will eat 6. And that goes your sugar levels right up. Are you catching that? That's why when you feel satisfied and you feel that you cannot eat anymore, if somebody comes to you with popcorn, I think I can have a few of them. Because the carbohydrates, there's no satisfaction receptors for carbohydrates. You can go on and on and on and on and on. Okay? You can try this by yourselves. There is a recipe of a carob or chocolate mousse, whichever way you want to make it, using ripe avocado as a base. Have you heard of that one? You get ripe avocado and you put it in your blender. You put like 4 or 5 avocados. You put it in your blender and you put just a tiny bit of maple syrup, just a few dates, and then you put either the carob, not carrot, but carob, or the other thing that I said, the chocolate, the raw chocolate or whatever, and they make it, right? And then you put little jars like this with your mousse. Alternatively, you make the other rice milk, more like a custard type of, right? So lots of carbohydrates here. Now you get visitors, you use this one for yourself, and I use this one for my visitors. Okay, so you're going to use the carbohydrate ones for your visitors, and I'm going to use the avocado ones for my visitors. Okay, I have actually put it in smaller cups. And allowed you to get them in the big cup. I'll tell you what, most of your visitors will say, do you have more of that? Can I repeat? Most of my visitors will struggle finishing the first cup because it's fat and there's satisfaction receptors there. But they will go over and over and repeat themselves with the chocolate mousse on this side here. Okay, so alternatively, you also have nuts, seeds, maca. Now, soy, it can be an issue. Soy has protein, and that's another catch-22. Also has protein inhibitors. It actually has phytates and inhibitors to protect, like bodyguards, the protein. So you have a chain of amino acids going through. You have your enzymes that are ready to cut those that peptide of protein into small amino acids. It's going to cut it through. But as the protein is coming along, on each side you've got bodyguards, phytates and inhibitors, protein inhibitors. So as they see my enzyme about to cut that protein, that inhibitor goes and gets stuck in my scissors, so I cannot cut it. And there is an area where my protein needs to be absorbed, and if it doesn't get absorbed in that area, it will go down my intestinal tract, will actually putrefy itself and be excreted out. And I'm not getting it. Okay? In fact, when the tofu makers will make the tofu get rid of the water. When we're making soy milk, we get rid of the bean and we drink the water. Why do the tofu makers get rid of the water? Because that's where the majority of the inhibitors, protein inhibitors, have been left into. They call it poisons. That's why it used to take 8 hours to make tofu in the traditional way. Because they needed to actually get rid of all that fluffy stuff that will come up, all those are the inhibitors, and then they will get rid of the water. Nowadays, we're so clever that we actually drink the water. We call it, how do we call it? Soy milk. Now, you haven't been told these things, have you? I thought so. Okay, soak your beans. They need to be soaked. You need to get rid of the inhibitors. You need to soak them, get rid of the water. Sometimes soak them again, get rid of the water. Cook them in water. And once they are cooked, you get rid of the water again. Because they are on a preserved state when you buy them. They are dry because they are on a preservation state. So they don't go off because the inhibitors are preserving the proteins from decaying. So if you use them in the improper way, full of inhibitors, the inhibitors are there to preserve the decomposition of the protein. You just ate, it's funny because people go and say, don't eat that because it has a lot of preservatives. Well, if you don't get rid of the preservatives from the beans, you are eating the same thing. So soak them, get rid of the water, cook them, get rid of the water, and then use them for base in your soups, for base in your casseroles, for base in your patties, etc. But make sure, even there will be people that won't be able to consume the beans. No matter how many times they soaked it, no matter how slow they cooked it, there will be still people. You're thinking, well, that's not my problem, or it's not your problem. The one that has the problem comes to see me. So you don't see that person. And the last thing that we want is even putting the blame on that person. So that if that person cannot have the beans, that goes a big source of protein. So I said, get eggs from healthy hens. Make sure they're healthy hens and eat them. And the person says, why? Because you cannot actually eat the legumes as I can. Are you understanding what I'm saying? So, not all carbohydrates are the same, of course. So, on the group of carbohydrates, we included your vegetables, your grains and potato, and your fruit. Which one are the best source of carbohydrates? Vegetables. Vegetables are the best source because you don't spike on your insulin level. So the best source is actually vegetables. Vegetables are the best source of carbohydrates. That's why in your plate, if half of your plate is vegetables, you're already starting on a good footing, on a good base. And not all fats make you fat. In fact, I will suggest to you to watch the Weight Connection seminar. We give a whole detailed presentation of a hormone called glucagon that actually stimulates your fat burning, and there are plenty of studies that show, for instance, how almonds are helping with weight loss and etc. Okay? In fact, the fat that you are storing in your body comes mainly from what? From carbohydrates. Not from the fats, but from carbohydrates. That one between the fourth and the fifth rib, that pizza there that you ate 6 months ago, that's what it is. It was a carbohydrate that has been compressed down for storage in the form of fat between the fourth and the fifth rib there. Okay? Of course, I'm from Spain, so olives. I need to explain this, okay? I already know that somebody's going to watch this and I'm going to get in trouble, but I'm going to say it anyway because that's what I'm seeing in the clinic, and I need to make sure that for the sake of someone else that can be benefit, I don't care getting in trouble with that person that might be misinformed. I had a friend of mine also having a clinic, and he told me that they were going to be in town, or near my town, a presentation about a no fat diet, like zero fats, no oils, not nothing, not nuts, or very, very, like nuts will be something like Christmas kind of thing. And I couldn't make it. I wanted to go and I couldn't make it. I had a previous appointment, I couldn't make it. But he went. And he said, so I called him the next day and said, you went to the presentation? I said, yep. And is that what they advertised? I mean, what people told us that they were going to talk about? Like no fats, nor extra virgin olive oil, careful with the olives, careful with the avocado, careful with the nuts, and all that. Is that what it was? I said, yep. And they convinced me. And I said, really? They convinced you? And he says, yep. As soon as I saw them, I pay attention to them, they convinced me, right, from the beginning to the end. And then I thought, convince you of what? I said, we better eat the avocado, the nuts, and the olives. And I said, but that's not what they talked about. I said, no, but they all look like carton boxes. Their skin was so pale, so brittle, so flaky. Just their experience spoke more to him than what they were saying. So he said, they convinced me of right the opposite by their presence. Okay? So not all fats make you fat. Now, DHA and EPA add omega-3 fatty acids into the diet to produce PGE1 and PGE3, which are the anti-inflammatory prostaglandins. Now, DHA and EPA, they have different functions. When you eat, for instance, linseed or chia seed or hemp seed or walnuts, they contain omega-3s, right? They contain omega-3s. Now, your body is now depending on the effectiveness of your liver to break those omega-3s into DHA and feed your brain, and EPA and reduce your inflammation. So the EPA inflammation, DHA brain, okay? Vegetarians and vegans are known to have omega-3 deficiencies. Known to have omega-3 deficiencies. And when I talk to people about how you're supplementing omega-3s, they say, I just put a little bit of linseed around my breakfast. Yep, good luck with that one if you are using that to supplement yourself with omega-3s. What is the significance? What happens when your levels of DHA, which is actually the majority of the formation of your brain, when that is low? You can have two things. You can actually have a very, very rough time, and that rough time gives you depression. Or you can have not rough time whatsoever, but everything starts getting darker because your DHA is very low. And I've seen many that are suffering, struggling with depression. And you just twinkle up the DHA, and the sunshine comes. And that was the problem. But when you're getting into that roller coaster, everything and everyone is against you. And then you just need a bit of light. So it's actually well-known factor that there is a higher percentage of vegetarians and vegans that have deficiencies of DHA and EPA, and consequently, higher levels of depression. Soak your nuts. The majority of them, in fact, walnuts, if you have them inside the shell and you crack them, you probably don't need to soak them. But guess what? If you have actually got a handful of almonds there, and they've been there for 6 months and they haven't rotten out, it's because they are on a preservative state. You need to make them into an eatable state. So you need to actually soak them overnight and get rid of the water. The same thing that you will actually do with legumes. Okay? So the majority of them need to be soaked because otherwise they are on a preservative state. So you might get the fat, but you won't get the protein that are in them. And that says finish for this second presentation. Has your thinking been challenged even further in this second one? Good. It gets worse. Just wait for the third one. I really encourage you to attend, and looking forward to see you. Many blessings, and thank you for your attendance.